Robert Plank Show, episode 177, Life Embodied Therapy. Break out of the cycle and get motivated using art and music with Tashayla Williams. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Robert Plank Show, where we talk about building and growing an online business. Our guest is Tashayla Williams, and she's the owner of Life Embodied Therapy. She's a licensed mental health therapist who specializes in expressive art and music therapy, and she developed a program called Offender to Returning Citizen Transition Program. She has a book out coming out soon called Broke Entrepreneur, talking about how to start a business with little to no money by preparing aspiring business owners to be emotionally, mentally, and physically prepared to be a broke entrepreneur. So, Tashayla, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Ms. Plank.
I'm glad that you're on. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and what makes you stand out?
Absolutely. I started off my career as a substance abuse counselor, and I worked with individuals who were incarcerated. It was during that time that I ventured into the mental health side of it and began to explore the correlations between substance abuse and mental health. From there, I knew that I wanted to start a business, but I wasn't quite sure where I wanted to go with it. I developed the program, Offender to Returning Citizen Transition Program. I stand out because a lot of times when people think of therapy, they think of talk therapy. I do art and music therapy where I may have a client who comes in, doesn't want to talk. They say, you know what, I'm feeling kind of bad, and this song tells can tell you exactly how I'm feeling right now. So it's kind of a non-traditional form of therapy, and that's what makes me stand out.
Okay, and that makes a lot of sense. And so, I mean, people might be listening to the program and they might be thinking, geez, this is a program about, internet marketing or internet stuff. But what's cool about your thing is that you're a little different than the people that we normally have on, in that you created your own business from that. Is this right?
Absolutely, yes. From the development of my program, I began networking with different government businesses, different other business owners, and I found that there was a market for people who needed mental health counseling, didn't know where to start or how to begin to implement programming. So we actually started developing programs at several prisons, and right now we've expanded from Maryland to New York, and we're looking to go worldwide.
Awesome. And so you said that you're a substance abuse counselor and you created all that stuff. And so what does that mean exactly? Like, did you have your own practice, or like I mean, where did you start, and then what have you built now?
Okay. Well, I started traditionally in a clinic where I was doing mental health counseling and I was doing substance abuse counseling. Transitioned into the prison system where I was primarily doing substance abuse counseling. And from there, after obtaining my master's, I worked at a private practice shortly and then began developing my own private practice. So I still do traditional private practice where we do mental health and we also do substance abuse and we do art and music therapy incorporated in that as well.
Okay, well, cool. So can you tell us about what this means exactly as far as art and music therapy?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, as I stated before, a lot of people, when they think of therapy, they think of something where someone's getting into your business, um, and I can just handle it on my own. That's kind of how we have conditioned ourselves in society. So a lot of people aren't open to therapy. So art and music gives people another form of expression. Like I said, I have clients that come in all the time and they say, I don't have anything to say. I'm saying, okay, well, you don't have anything to say, but I know there's a song that can tell me exactly what you mean. And people open up that way. And of course, that initiates a conversation. Same thing with art. Specifically, if I'm working with, let's say, kids with autism, or if I'm working with people who have anger issues, art seems to be a really great way to get them to express themselves. So the same thing, I would say, well, tell me a little bit about yourself, and maybe they don't want to talk. Well, here's some paint and here's some charcoal. Tell me about yourself through art. So it just gives people another alternative in that moment.
And that's kind of cool. And I mean, I don't know, I'm no scientist or anything like that, but as you're describing your process and stuff like that, it sounds like, maybe people who come to you, or, they, if they're in the prison system, or like you said, they're like a child with autism or things like that, maybe other ways of therapy have failed them before. And it sounds to me like by bringing the art and the music into it, first of all, like it turns on parts of the brain that aren't normally in use. And then the other thing that I'm hearing, and let me know if I'm right or wrong here, but it sounds almost like they were trying to push it too hard before, like, if they were trying to do talk therapy or whatever other kind of therapy. It sounds almost like they were too guarded, their defenses were up, and then by expressing themselves in other ways, it just helps them to let go. Is that right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Give it another option. Just think of yourself. If you're upset and someone's like, no, I need you to talk right now, that's going to make you very upset. So to say, okay, well, you don't have to talk. Here's another option. It kind of allows the person to let their guard down.
Cool. And then so you had this method that worked for you pretty well. And so, I mean, what have you done to build the business? I mean, I know that you said that you're trying to expand it nationwide, but I mean, what have you done so far to get the word out and to have this message catch on?
Okay, absolutely. Well, the reason why this program stuck out to me is because you do talk about internet advertisement, and I was one who social media and dealing with putting a lot of things, even business on the internet, that was very foreign to me. So I had someone who gave me great advice and was like, look, if you really want to be successful at business, you have to make sure you're keeping up with social media, putting things out there, networking through the internet. And it just opened up a world of opportunities. I Through the internet, I'm able to not only tell people about the program. I've had people reach out to me and say, hey, we want to support. How can we support? I've had people volunteer to be a part of the program or to even route me or network me like, hey, I think this is a great funding source. We've gotten grant opportunities through internet advertisement. So it's just been a great way to start off our program and to maintain it.
Okay, cool. And then so the next thing that makes me curious about is, so I know that you have this art and music therapy thing, the life embodied therapy, and then you have this other idea, this other book called The Broke Entrepreneur. So I mean, do those relate? Was it a matter of you didn't have a big advertising budget to promote this program, or is Broke Entrepreneur like a separate idea from the therapy?
It absolutely derived from it because, like I said, I knew I wanted to open my own practice. Wasn't sure about the program that just kind of came with it, but I wanted. A lot of times, I have people ask me, "Well, how did you start your business?" I know that took a lot of money, and I want people to know, no, it takes a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication. And maybe it takes money, but not necessarily your money, because there are opportunities for people to buy into what you're doing. So the book actually talks about ways to cope with what you're going to go through emotionally, physically, and mentally. Having a startup, trying to be an entrepreneur, but it's not something that's not attainable. And I think that's a lot of times when people feel I don't have the money, so starting a business is not a concept I can even entertain. So it's a motivational book that says, hey, these are some things you're going to experience. You're going to experience anxiety. This is what it's going to look like. And this is how you can cope with it. And here are some alternatives for you to, in this moment, how you can work towards being an entrepreneur or work towards something invested into your business while you're dealing with anxiety, while you're dealing with fear.
So can you kind of walk us through maybe your own personal anxiety and fear that you went through when you started this business, and maybe what kind of ways, what kind of tools and methods you had to cope with that?
Absolutely. Well, one of the things I feared was I spent a lot of money going to school, like many of us do. And it was like, you know what, I have to make sure this investment, I buy into it. So I must have this job where maybe I'm happy, but maybe I'm not, but I have all these great ideas, but I don't know what to do with them. So that was my motivation. What am I going to do with these ideas in my head? Do I share them with this organization? Maybe they'll like them, maybe they won't. So my anxiety was stability. So eventually I thought to myself, okay, yes, stability is important, but it's also important that I feel comfortable and I feel like I can creatively be the professional that I know that I can be. So so the anxiety continued And one of my motivations is actually art and music. And that's kind of how I was able to develop the program, because I'm like, okay, how do I cope? How do I deal with things? So if I had a day where I was feeling really anxious, I may pull out my acrylic and my canvas and I'll express myself in that way. And that would motivate me, like, okay, you know what? Now I can move forward. Um, Talking with other business owners, I feel was definitely pivotal to my success, because they told me, if you're an entrepreneur, being an entrepreneur is a mindset. That's not going to go away. So no matter where you go, you're an entrepreneur. That's not going to stop. What are you going to do with it? So just having people to network with, and definitely, I think, helped to ease my anxieties.
Okay, cool. And I mean, yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in there, in that, yeah, like when you when you talk to other people that are like you, that have the same drive, it's like you realize that, okay, like I'm not alone. And I think that that's kind of been on my mind lately, is that it seems like a lot of people kind of tend to stay within their own little social circle, right? And stay within like their own little group of friends or their own
Right.
family, and a lot of them, they don't understand how, like, people like you and me, we want to build some stuff. And the other thing that was kind of cool about that is that, so your way of dealing with the anxiety in the art and music, that's what worked for you. So you said, okay, well, if someone else has been on my path, and all these other things like didn't work, or worked sort of okay but not great, then here's this other solution. And so, I mean, as far as the this therapy thing, like, is there any, like, I don't know, like steps, or is there a process for someone to go through, or is it a matter of just sit down and start drawing?
It is a process. Not everybody is going to be receptive to sit down and start drawing. Um, it is an individual thing, even though that has been successful. If somebody, even if somebody doesn't draw, they could find other ways to be artistic. I have someone who can't draw, but they do sculptures. So there's other ways for them to be creative and not just limited to talk therapy. Um, so I guess it just depends on the individual person. And so I take, in terms of the step by step, um, first I offer, okay, well, draw for me how you're feeling right now. If that doesn't work, then they may be open to talk therapy, or say, well, what are some other ways that you can creatively express? We don't have to talk right now. It's fine. Um, is there another way that you can show me creatively how you're feeling right now? I had a client one time, she was a dancer. She didn't draw, she wasn't really into music, but she was a dancer. She was able to describe to me how she felt, because I had some knowledge of dance and dance steps. So it's art and music is the core of it, because that's what I'm familiar with, but it's about individualizing treatment for individual people.
And that's pretty cool, because I mean, like different people have different personalities. So like you said, like some people might be more drawn to they might do music, or they might draw something, or might do sculpture, might do dance. So, like, first of all, it's cool because if someone doesn't quite fit into an exact box or template as before, now they can do their own thing. And then all these examples that you're telling me about, it sounds like it's all about, like, people, well, not only, I mean, expressing themselves is good, but also they're building something, right? Because if you make the
Absolutely.
sculpture, you've gone from this idea to a physical thing. And even in terms of like the
Absolutely.
like the dance
Yes.
moves, they did all this work and all these repetitions, and now they come to a complete picture. So that's kind of interesting.
Right. Absolutely.
So cool. So I mean, is there, okay? So if you're, like, say you're dealing with like a client of some kind, so I mean, what actually happens during this kind of session? Like, is it like a 1 hour block? Is there a certain amount of time where they draw on their own? Is this like a recurring thing? Like, what do you usually do for people?
Okay. Well, sessions are usually 45 minutes. Sometimes they can go over to an hour. I have had clients the whole time that would draw, and then we would process the next session. So again, it just depends on where the client wants to go with it. Most times they may spend maybe like 15, 20 minutes drawing, processing, thinking about what they want to draw. Then after, or even during, and I'll ask, do you mind if I talk to you while you're processing, or do you want me to talk to you after? So based on their preference, I may say, oh, I see that you're drawing a black cloud. What does that mean? Can you tell me what that means? If they're comfortable with me doing that. If not, then I'll wait after.
So do you notice a lot of that? Like, if someone Does any kind of this artistic expression, have you noticed, like, is there any kind of like hidden meanings, or certain things manifest themselves in certain types of drawings or objects and things?
Absolutely. I remember I had a client that we had done talk therapy for years, and one day I said, I wonder if you can draw for me how you're feeling, and they actually drew something that they've never verbally said to me, and so that within itself was something that was great because it allowed me to see um, that there was something else that they wanted to express or maybe quite didn't know how to do it. So yeah, there are some things that manifest specifically for adults because initially when I tell an adult like, "Hey, draw it for me," they're like, "Well, I'm not a kid, I don't want to draw." But then they find that it's actually something that is very therapeutic and allows them to express themselves in ways that they couldn't do verbally.
And it's interesting that you say that a lot of, or that, like, some adults resist doing it because they think it's kid stuff. But I mean, I think back to when I was a kid, and I mean, geez, like when I was a kid, I was super optimistic about stuff. I felt like like I was pretty creative, and I think that a lot of adults, they kind of get too set in their ways, or they come up with too many assumptions, or all this discouragement or things that don't work. So even it sounds to me like, even if this form of therapy might seem kid-like to some people, I mean, I don't see a problem with that, especially because when you were a kid, there were all these possibilities, there were all these good things happening. So maybe doing some of these more childlike activities is not such a bad thing.
Absolutely. Yep.
So cool. So all right. So is there anything like coming up, like, as far as you have this book coming out, and you have the therapy, and you're building this sort of movement. Do you have any other plans, as far as, do you have like a website for this? Are you going to make like a community or a membership site for this art therapy or anything like that?
Well, we do have a website. Our website is lifeembodiedtherapy.ipage.com. On that site, when Broke Entrepreneur, the book, is going to be released December 1st, there'll be a tab to make comments and make reviews. We do want to make a movement of Broke Entrepreneur, not to make it a negative connotation, but it's the idea of even if you're broke and you have no money, you can still aspire to dream to be an entrepreneur. You won't be broke forever, but you still have the mindset of someone who desires to create social change and to make an impact in the world. And it's okay, even if you're broke. So we are going to make a movement out of it. There will be essentially seminars to assist people in addition to the book. The book is supposed to be motivational in that maybe you read a page a day, and that'll be a part of, in the book, it describes having a motivation calendar. Maybe that'll be a part of your motivation calendar is to read a page of the book every day. But we definitely plan to have a network of support and to build, and as we discussed previously, to have like-minded people come together and say, hey, I'm not alone. I have someone I can talk to and work with and build with. So that's a lot of the information will be on our website. We are on Facebook. Facebook will have a lot of updates. And again, I definitely would like to interact with people and get comments about the book or about things they would like to see or even other supports.
Awesome. So lots of good stuff there, and I think that this is, I mean, anything, mindset wise, I think a lot of people kind of tend to, at first glance, sort of toss it to the side and think it's kind of silly. But I mean, if you don't have a good mindset, if people are dealing with this anxiety or this doubt, especially as work at home entrepreneurs and things like that, it really blocks. I know that it blocks at least me in a lot of ways if I don't have a handle on that. And so I think that the more tools people have, the better. And I think that this is a really great way of just a simple way of people getting to the root cause of things, and to figure out what's bothering them, and to figure out solutions to things. I think that this is a really cool idea, to Shayla. And so just to make sure that we
Thank you.
have, oh, you're welcome. So just to make sure we have the website right, that is lifeembodiedtherapy.ipage.com. Is that right?
Yes,
Cool. And then to find you on Facebook, they can just search Life and Body Therapy as well.
absolutely.
And then the book coming out is Broke Entrepreneur, right?
Yes, broker entrepreneur.
Cool. So all kinds of good stuff. So I mean, I really appreciate everything that you have to say here, Tashayla, and it sounds like what you have in motion has helped a lot of people and will help a lot of people. So I'm very grateful and thankful that you came on the show. So I appreciate you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Hey, this is Robert Plank, and thanks so much for listening. If you have a recommendation for a guest for the show, if you'd like to be on the show, or even if you want to just suggest a topic, go right now to robertplank.com/ask. That's ROBERTPLANK.com/ASK to send your question or comment.